So we'll call this meeting to order, starting with the important notice regarding city meetings. This meeting is being conducted utilizing teleconferencing and electronic means consistent with state of California executive orders regarding the COVID-19 pandemic. Zoom is being utilized for this meeting. In case of technical issues, meetings will be uploaded to the city website as soon as possible after this meeting. We will be conducting today's meeting in a virtual setting using Zoom. Committee members and staff are participating from remote locations, practicing appropriate social distancing. Members of the public may view and listen to the meeting by use of Zoom as noted on the city's website and as noted on the agenda. Members of the public wishing to speak to the Climate Action Committee may do so during public comment or may comment on agenda items during the discussion of each item and must be logged into Zoom. Anyone using abusive, vulgar, offensive, threatening, or harassing language, personal attacks of any kind, or offensive terms that target specific individuals or groups will be muted and removed from the meeting. Please do not abuse this new way to provide public comment. All right, so if Carrie's disappeared, hopefully she's still here and ready to do the roll call. Or I don't see Jasenia was going to do our inspiration today. I do not see her.
I know she's coming.
Okay. So I'm not really, I guess we'll just come back to the roll call when we can. Joshua, do you have action items from last meeting?
A little bit, yeah. Okay, one of the main things is just a reminder to everybody on the committee that on March 1st at the city council meeting, we're doing our next report from the committee. So we do have one more committee meeting before that, but just if there are things that you would like to have mentioned in our quarterly report, please get those to Kenna and myself as soon as you can and consider coming to that meeting. At that meeting, there will also be the gas station ban is on the agenda. And in particular, the funding proposal about the charter city, if that is to be brought up, it should be prepped for that one. That was kind of too witty. And then in general, just everybody to note that we do have an official outreach process through the city that Deborah is as extra details on that, and people can send things through Dina to Holly for approval. And finally, there were bits about the public meeting for the framework outreach. We'll have a report on that later. That's it. Thanks.
Great, thank you. So we'll go back to roll call now.
Thank you. And I will do this real quickly because I think I need to make John the host so he can do this. But Jerry Glazer.
I believe he won't be here today.
All right. Alex Goodman. Dina Allen.
Here.
Joshua Somone.
Yes, thank you.
Kenna Lee.
Here.
Lisa Pierce.
Here.
Debbie Burns.
Here.
Sunali Sikand.
Here.
Woody Hastings.
Here.
Jasenia Garcia. Diana Rich.
Present.
Oh. Sarah Gurney.
I'm here. Thank you.
Kathy Ottinger.
Here.
And I do see that Jasenia just logged on, so she is also present.
Hi, Jasenia. So we are just at the part of the meeting that we were ready for the inspiration. But if you need a minute to.
Good. I'm just trying to figure out my lighting, I guess.
Okay.
Totally blown out. Much better. That. I don't know. I guess it's just gonna be bad today. Oh, hello everyone. I'm so happy that you're all here. I'm happy to be here myself. I'm just taking the time to take a breath because I know that all of us lead such busy lives. And I feel that's important to really be present and be here in the moment because this is really important. And because, at least for me, I've been running around all day and I haven't really gotten to take a breath. And so yeah, I will do that. Today, my inspiration is the I'm trying to figure out how to phrase this. The gratitude and just the passion that I have for all the work that we get to be engaged in here and in the community and with the world. I think that it's so beautiful that I take on so many forms and that we are able to do so many things that align with our own interests and with what is hopefully best for other people and other life. So yeah, I'm just really feeling good about all the things that are happening and everything that we're doing and all the connection that we're making with each other and the rest of the community. Yeah, and just having gratitude for everything that we're doing. Thank you all.
Thank you so much for that breath and gratitude. It's wonderful. So after we all take a breath, we will invite our members of the public to take a breath and share their thoughts with us. If there are any members of the public that want to make a comment regarding items that are not on our agenda today, this is the opportunity for you to do so. Sandy, go ahead.
Hello, everyone. My name is Sandy Maurer, and I'm the director of the EMF Safety Network. We're a nonprofit sponsored project of EON, Ecological Options Network. I've been a 34-year resident of the city of Sebastopol. I'm a mother, a grandmother, an artist, and I love hikes in nature and eating out and meditation. And I appreciate the opening of gratitude today. And I wanted to thank you for last week. The public was invited to attend the climate action meeting at night last week. And I appreciated that invite. And I'm going to read what I've written just because it's simpler and I've got a lot to say, so I want to get through it. Years ago, I was very excited to watch Al Gore's climate change movie and learn what I could do to help. And I was terribly disappointed in his solution to buy appliances. My initial impression of climate activism is that they also promoted buying new appliances and using smart technologies. But at the beginning of your meeting last week, Woody acknowledged the native people's land that we live on. And I felt hopeful that there's wisdom and inclusivity in this group. As an EMF activist for 15 years, I call my project the Feel Bad Project because it's not necessarily fun work. It's hard work to try to educate people about something, for example, the radiation that their cell phones emit that affects their health and affects the environment. But anyway, I do this because I am driven to do this. My health was impacted by it. So PG&E and other utilities claimed that their smart meters would save energy and help climate change. And the National Resources Defense Council, NRDC, they supported this claim. And after 5 years, PG&E did a study and they admitted that their smart meters weren't saving energy after all. Since PG&E installed the smart meters and the smart grid, which is microwave equipment on the power lines, we've experienced the most destructive fires. And according to the CPUC, PG&E equipment has caused the majority of these deadly fires. The deceptive corporate greenwashing of smart technology continues. In fact, right here in Sebastopol, Sizer Co. has sold their smart water meters as an energy efficient greenhouse gas reducing climate change solution. They use this climate action committee. They use your unanimous approval to help sell the smart water meters to the city council. And in their eagerness to be green, the city failed to comply with their telecommunications ordinance, which requires public notice and a planning commission review. They failed to comply with their general plan goals to reduce EMFs, and they ignored their 2013 smart meter ban. Sizer Co. probably didn't tell you that the smart water meters use non-replaceable batteries. If the battery fails, the whole meter has to be replaced. This issue is going to come back to the city council for review on February 15th or possibly March 1st. So if you have any questions about EMFs or the smart water meters, feel free to email me at emfsafe, S-A-F-E, @sonic.net. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sandy. Any other members of the public who would like to speak to the committee about items not on today's agenda? All right, I don't see any hands up or anyone trying to get my attention. So we will move on to our regular agenda. Does anyone on the committee have a statement of conflict of interest? Nope. All right. So moving on to our planning department report.
Thank you, Kenna. So a couple items from, and this is sort of a planning item that went to City Council, but I know some of you were in attendance. The City Council did review the Calder Creek naturalization options and directed the City Planning Commission and staff to move forward with option B. That's the one that naturalizes the creek and balances, keeps Polyfield, but creates a really wonderful concept that I think we're all excited to move forward with. One note about the upcoming City Council meeting, the gas station ban is not going to be on that agenda. There are a couple of housing related items that need to be on that agenda to meet state timelines and mandates. So there is the Huntley Square mini townhome, which was continued from the January 4th, I believe, City Council meeting. That was continued to the March 1st meeting. And that is, I believe, an all-electric project. It's by Healthy Buildings. They will be presenting about some of the energy and sustainability features. That is one of the things that they are known for. So if you're interested in that, and I know I don't see Tor Allen here, but I know he and a couple others are super interested in that. So if anyone knows, or maybe if you could let Tor know, that'd be great. Or anyone else coordinating with them.
Can you
and then
repeat
we also
the date again?
So this is next Tuesday. Sorry, March 1st. Sorry, March 1st City Council meeting. Looking forward to that. And there's also a housing element strategy work session going to be at that meeting as well. So with those two items plus other departments items, I did ask that the gas station ban move to a different meeting, just knowing the scale of those items. But we are looking to have that at upcoming. I think it will be the first meeting in April. Woody, for those of you who want to be there, I'll confirm as soon as I know. Obviously, the council agenda is subject to the agenda review committee. But usually once we put out a public notice with the newspapers and stuff, we're pretty firm on those. It is also time for me to get ready to submit our department budget. And so I was talking with the chair briefly before the meeting, but that is something that if there is input from the climate committee, would be helpful to know. I am submitting for continued support by Holly Hansen because of the number of events the Climate Action Committee is doing. I know you guys are doing a few more compost events, and we want to make sure we have the support to get the word out on those. And also the climate action framework will be continuing into the next fiscal year. And I want to make sure we have support for the outreach and participation associated with that. But if there are items from the committee as well, I believe the council did review the request and midterm budget for the grant writer, and they did not approve it as part of midyear, but they did have it a thought as a this is something that should be looked at in the next fiscal year budget cycle. And so I think that's it for my department updates. Oh, and I am out next week, so if you do have any critical things, John Jay, who has left the meeting, we're not able to get it on YouTube, but we'll get it uploaded after the meeting from the Zoom recording. But John will be around all next week, so feel free to contact him. And if it's an emergency, he'll be able to contact me.
All right, thank you, Carrie. Is there anything, does anybody have questions for Carrie about the budget concerns? I see Woody's hand up, but I really just want to encourage us to understand the budgeting process and how we can support planning department with our advocacy. So please feel free to bring questions forward now for Carrie. Woody, go ahead. I can't hear you.
Thanks, sorry about that. Yeah, thanks for the report. Just a quick question. Was there no other meeting later in March that gas station prohibition could be moved to? Like the 15th or...
I think the other meeting was also pretty impacted. City as the council members can probably tell you that the council is dealing with a lot of different items right now.
Okay, all right. So all the meetings in March. So you said I think first meeting in April. Okay.
Yeah, and like I said, I will keep this committee updated for sure and let everybody know, because I know that's an important item for the group.
Thank you.
Yep.
Sorry. Anyone else before we move on to our council member report? Okay, council members, have anything to report to us?
Diana, do you see anything that Carrie hasn't touched on that you want to update on unhoused or anything?
I don't think so. That's directly relevant. Oh, one thing that's directly relevant to this group, which might be interesting, which is that the RV village, which is called Horizon Shine, at 845 Gravenstein Highway North, that's the location that we expect actually are in the midst of having RVs that are currently on Morris moved in. It actually is receiving from the stewards of the Redwoods. I'm not saying that right, but I'm sure someone here is familiar with that organization, has donated a solar setup to allow electrification of through solar energy of some of those RVs. So I thought that was interesting and relevant to the Climate Action Committee. The other thing that I report out, because I am on the budget committee, is that the decision to not consider the grant request, the grant writer request, as part of the mid-year decision does not reflect in any way on the consideration of it for next fiscal year. It was simply a policy decision that no new items, and there were others, would be considered, but instead all that was considered and approved by the city council were existing approved budget items that had for some reason needed to be tweaked, cost a little more, cost a little less. So that's the extent of my report at this time. Thank you.
Okay. Ken, if I could just add something.
Yes, please.
Yes, thank you. I would say, as the rep to the RCPA, it's not my idea that this gas station ban be slowed down and delayed to an April meeting. I thought we would be the first up, Woody, and here we are, taking a longer time to get on the agenda.
I think you still may end up being the first, or well, second after Petaluma, but first to go next.
Well, thank you for saying that. I'm in a hurry up, giddy up mood. Okay. Thanks, Kenneth.
Yes, and I think for perspective, it's important to remember there are no proposals for new gas stations. So the speed is simply for bragging rights and not to actually prevent gas stations, correct?
Yeah,
Carrie?
I would say yes, there's absolutely no threat given our current code. And also, I am doing this all on existing budget, even though that project was not budgeted. So, and I did not ask, although I thought about it, I did not ask for a mid-year budget amendment for the $5,000 or so it's taking to get the gas station ban completed. And that's why I'm saying, I am going to put money in for our budget for next year for the Climate Action Committee, both for PR, but also for, I'm anticipating there will be initiatives coming out of the Climate Action Framework that the city will want to jump on. And so, since I have the ear of a couple council members, I'll let you know that I am going to be requesting some funding to support that. It was sort of luck of the draw that I had some extra funds because of my staffing absences, but I need to deal with the staffing absences at this point. And so I will need additional funding for future climate projects. So yes, there is a budget process kind of. The public meetings for that, I believe, start in early April with the budget subcommittee. And I can certainly let you know when my department's budgets come forth, and they are public meetings this year, since it's a standing committee. And then the city council meetings come after that. I don't know if those are, I don't have the dates for those yet, but those are later on.
All right, and I would just call everyone's attention to Woody's correction of my rash statement in the chat. So go ahead, Dina.
Okay, city council question. So the compost dates for both March and April were approved?
I am not aware of specific action on that topic. Are you, Carrie or Sarah? I don't think that's something that would have come to the city council specifically.
Well, I don't know. Sarah, you were asking for some supportive comments to the city council about that. So I was led to believe that maybe it needed to be approved, or somebody told me it just got on the calendar and so therefore it's approved. So I'm a little confused.
What's your subject again, Dina?
The compost date, giveaway dates.
Yeah,
And
That was
Dina,
passed on the consent calendar.
Yeah.
Last
I was
consent
going to say that
calendar.
already went
Yes.
to council. So
Yes, that
that's
was passed
yeah.
in the last meeting, and it was under
Yeah.
DPW Earth Day activities, I believe.
I think that's what she was asking was,
Right.
did the council
Yes.
approve it?
Yes.
And,
Right.
and what does that mean for her?
That means it's a verified city adopted activity, I guess, in the DPW budget.
Right. It means it's a go.
It's a go. It's a go. And thank you for your email. I hope I acknowledged it.
Yes, you did.
We all got it. Okay.
And in terms of future compost dates, I guess because the first one, I don't believe we did bring to council, or at least Dina and I couldn't remember bringing it to council. So if future compost dates come up, are we supposed to bring those to council, or do we, what is our process for setting up those events? Or what is the preferred process?
Do you want to answer, Carrie?
I can tell you what my preferred process is.
I can tell you mine too.
Because I can do the right time writing a staff report, or I can do other work and we can just do it.
Yes, I know. Sorry.
Assuming there's budget
Right.
for it.
Right. And you caught me in a very rogue mood here. So I say, just do it. But obviously you can always ask formally and get it put on consent and, pretty much draft the staff report, cutting and pasting paragraphs from an earlier one, something like that. What are you thinking, Diana?
I think that there's no formal official need for you to bring it before city council. You have a staff member present, Carrie, so long as she gives her approval to the process and the dates and clears them on the city's calendar. no need to do it. The only reason I can see for you to want, for this group to want to bring it before city council is if you want some official sponsorship or imprimatur from the city. It's important to get visibility, but otherwise, no, just get it done.
Except Diana, this is already a city committee, so they've got that. So I'm just
Yes.
checking with you, Carrie, right?
So,
Insurance
yeah, so
coverage
two-
is often people's big worry, personal liability. So if it's a city committee doing an activity under the auspices of that committee, I'm figuring they're covered under the city insurance policy.
Right, there's generally going to be three things. One, if there are volunteers, there's a volunteer waiver, which I'm guessing those of you who
Release,
showed up
right.
last time. Yeah, release. We need to form that helps us with our insurance coverage. The dates we definitely want to, because I know, and I'll take responsibility for the very first compost was at the same time as the IPA 10K, and we want to make sure we need to make sure that we don't do that again for everyone's benefit. Although we managed, and I thank the CAC for being so accommodating on that. And then it does take DPW staff, I believe. And so that needs to be coordinated with Dante from that level.
Yeah, so he was the first level to check in with.
Yeah, he's the first level. Yeah, the volunteer waiver is not, it's just a thing. It's not mine. It's just a part of the process. And then if the compost is free, then there's no real budget other than making sure that Dante has the staff, because staff does cost money
He didn't
to be able to support it.
He didn't do anything last time. It was all gone. So the only money he would have had to spend is if the compost stayed there longer and he wanted to use some in a city place, then he would have sent over some equipment and moved some himself.
Exactly. So that's exactly the kind of thing. Or if he needs to have his staff clear a space for the compost to go. That's what I'm talking about, staff time and resources. Frankly, I'd rather, if he can do that, then have him spend the time writing a staff report to council about, can we do something that we know council wants us to do?
So I think what may have gotten it confusing was that we were trying to make this like an official city Earth Day activity, which is the part that got on the consent calendar. So what I'm hearing is that sequestration can continue working with Dante to put on these compost events without having to bring it forward to council whenever they want to, until someone tells them to stop.
Yeah, and I would say for full disclosure, you can, if you wanted to mention this in your info presentation, to say, hey, we got approval for this. Since there's not a cost to the city, we'd like to just continue this. And then the full council knows that this is your intent.
Gotcha.
And then it's cleared in a public process format to everybody.
All right, Sunali, go ahead. You're muted.
Hi.
Yes, now I can hear you.
Okay. I had a question about budget. We had the council allocated some funds to the art project. How do we go about accessing them? We wanted to put some flyers, some submission forms, and also I just spoke to somebody recently in soliciting some of like AMWA to do some of the engineering for the kaleidoscope or some of the design. And what was shared with me is that I guess there's a sentiment among some of our artists in town that the city asks a lot of them, but doesn't value them. And that wasn't speaking to AMWA in particular. That was just a general comment. So I'm just trying to wrap my mind around that and get some input on how we go about using that budget, what needs to be done, etc.
Does anyone have an answer for her? Go ahead, Sarah.
Oh, I can make my suggestions from what I know that other groups do, but I always like Carrie to answer because she's a department head. So generally what groups do when they've been provided money is spend the money and bill against that account and then get reimbursed. So if your money is approved for publicity, you do your publicity, build the city, and they reimburse. Or if it's for materials, you put that down. It really is. I think that's straightforward. What do you say, Carrie?
Yeah, so the city does have a reimbursement process. I'm pausing a little bit because I believe the funding was allocated to the Zero Waste Committee, which is not one of planning department's committees, for the Upcycle Art Project. And so I'm not sure who mans that department. I mean, who mans that committee in terms of whose budget that money would have been allocated to. And I don't quite recall. Was that maybe I'm thinking about it wrong. Was that the public art budget that it was included in? Okay. So if it's the public art budget, yes, then I have a city reimbursement form. If you submit it to me, then I can approve it and submit it to finance. That's probably the easiest way. If there are things that I'm just going to leave it at that. We can coordinate if you have any further questions offline.
Thank you so much. Deborah, I saw you had your hand up earlier. Are you no longer needing?
No, I'm good. I'm good.
Okay,
Thank you.
great. Thank you. All right. So thank you, Carrie and Council, for all that great information. We're going to move on to Phoebe's Climate Action Framework update. But before we do, can I get a quick read from the energy group, whether we're going to want to have the REACH discussion today with Jerry not here? Or you guys, I know he kind of did the presentation last time, but you may be perfectly ready to lead the discussion. Go ahead, Lisa.
So Steve, you can jump in here if you want to, but my understanding is that we're going to wait until Jerry's able to return.
Sure. Okay. Thank you. I just wanted to know whether we're tabling that so I can keep an eye on the time. All right. Phoebe, go ahead with our Climate Action Framework update, please.
Awesome. Thanks, Kenna. So as you heard, probably all know, we had the community meeting last Wednesday night. Been getting good feedback on that and really want to thank all of the facilitators who helped. It was really great to have you there in the breakout rooms. And we got a lot of great input on the Jamboards. And so I've been going through those. They're all posted on the Climate Action Framework page of the city website now. So if you want to take a look at what other groups discussed, or if you weren't able to make it, the meeting recording is also up there. And my takeaway from looking at the Jamboards is that people were really focused on transportation and looking towards a Sebastopol that's less car-centric, that has more sidewalks, that has more bicycle infrastructure. And that was really seemed to be the topic that came up the most on those Jamboards and in those discussions in the breakout rooms. And then the other topic that really stood out for me is education and people wanting to know more what they can do and have more outreach and better ways to access the resources that are available. And yeah, I wanted to ask if that sort of matched what the facilitators heard, and those of you who were in a breakout rooms, was that what stood out for you as well, or were there other sort of highlights from your conversation that you want to share? Yeah, Kenna.
I would say from my breakout room, there was a lot that was, there was a underlying theme of resilience that maybe was harder to capture onto the sticky notes themselves. Was kind of the underlying thinking was about resilience and fear of wildfires and wanting the mitigation projects to have an adaptation element.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Dina.
I think too, it came up more than once in things I was reading of having a cultural shift in the community and a more cohesive sharing, caring, that came up in different comments too. So how to build more community to get these jobs done and to have a shift in thinking.
Yeah, definitely. I saw that in some of the comments as well. Joshua?
Yeah, I perceived a relatively high level of awareness that there were going to need to be changes in the existing housing stock, and that sort of home remodels were something that citizens were aware of and were interested in ways to support that process.
Okay. Yes, Sunali.
You drop the link to that because I'm on the city website and I'm not easily finding it.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so it's on the climate action framework page and then down towards the bottom. Lisa?
So as far as the education, what I heard specifically was more information on how to access resources, resources for transitioning to electric cars and also for making homes more energy efficient.
Mm-hmm.
How we could, as a committee, help the community become more educated on those things.
Yeah. Kathy? Oh, you're muted, Kathy.
I was wondering if there were ways to add new ideas, because since the meeting, 2 more ideas have been relayed to me through people, and I wonder if I could add those in. I'll tell you what they are now. One is a car-free day. I know in the past we had one that was once a month, started by, I think, Larry Robinson years ago on Sunday. And their suggestion is to do a car-free day 1 day a week, and then promote that. And the other idea is sort of in the same vein, have an appropriate tip of the day or tip of the week that comes out in the city's newsletter or to its bills that talks about a particular subject matter and gives people ideas and thoughts about reducing their carbon through that tip. And then, it may be interesting to somebody or it may not, but another topic might be interesting them. So having a variety of topics that would fall under education. And it would just be a sort of a regular reminder that if you're interested in this, you can get more information on it and change your behavior. So those were the 2 ideas that had been passed along to me.
Great, thank you, Kathy. Yeah, I think I saw one of those, the car-free days. I think someone maybe put that in their survey response. Yeah, so that's the way for people who weren't able to come to the meeting or thought of something later, they can either take the survey and put it on there or just send an email to the Climate Action Committee email address. And I'm collecting all of that and we'll definitely be including it.
Good.
And yeah, so, Sonali, did you have another comment?
I just wanted, I'm looking at this and just really appreciate the process and the way you went about putting this together. And speaking to what Dina said, I feel like this is building community already by this process. So just appreciation for it.
Great, thank you, Sonali. Yeah, Councilmember Gurney.
I'm grateful to everybody who offered support for Phoebe through that evening. I thought it was really effective. And just in this comment, I'd like to give credit to one of our citizens, Portia Sinat, who started the Car-Free Day with her group called Car Light, L-I-T-E.
Thank you. Okay, so on the survey, we've so far have gotten over 50 responses, and the pedestrian bike infrastructure and climate education are also themes that are standing out in those responses so far. So my next steps on this project are going to be starting to dive more into researching the strategies that may be included or considered. And I'm going to sort of start with the transportation theme, since that was the thing that stood out to me most from the meetings and the survey responses so far, but I'll also be collecting sort of ideas from the other sections as well. And then in line with that, request for the working groups to please keep me up to date on what you're working on. I think I've sort of got a read on what the most active groups are working on, but if there's something that is sort of medium term for your group that you think isn't going to be done by the time the framework is done, it's probably something we want to consider including in the framework. So yeah, just keep me informed about that, and I'll probably be reaching out to you as well as I'm working more on researching strategies and actions. And then on the community engagement side, thinking about having some workshops in March or April that are more focused on specific topics to get input on those. And I think it was Kenna floated the idea of having each working group host a workshop. So I wanted to float that idea with everyone and see how people might feel about that. And then also still planning on doing an outreach event at Park Village, potentially Saturday, February 26th, which would be shorter than a farmer's market, just like a couple hours commitment. So if anyone's available then and is interested in helping out with that, send me an email. And then farmers markets, we had our last farmers market last weekend. Yes. And they've been really fun. I think it's a really great way for people to learn about the Climate Action Committee. And so if anyone's interested in doing more of those, let me know and I can get in touch with Carla, the market manager, and I have all the materials so I can get those to you if you'd like to do more of those. And thanks to everyone who has already helped out at those. It's been great to see folks in person and to interact with the community in person. So that is all for my update. Does anyone have any questions or other comments about the framework?
I think we just are trusting you to keep doing the good work you're doing, but don't hesitate to say that you need help, because I think, we all want to move this forward and it seems like you're doing a great job. So it's easy for us to be like, she's got this. So please reach out to individuals and to working groups and to Joshua and I as the chairs to help you get the support that you need as you continue through this process. And thank you for that report. So we're going to, we're tabling the next agenda item, which is the REACH code discussion. And we're going to go to Sunali for Rights of Nature weather reports. And I'll just hand it over to
Lisa
But
had
hold
said
on
that
one
the
second.
audio
I'm so
was
sorry,
poor. I don't
Sunali.
know.
Sunali, I
Oh,
forgot.
yeah.
I forgot to ask for public comment on the framework discussion. So was there any public comment on the climate action framework updates? All right. Seeing none, we'll move on. Sorry, Sunali. This time for real. Go ahead. I can hear you. It's not great. That's worse. I can't hear you at all.
And now.
Yes. Just talk loud.
Good?
Yeah.
Okay. Great. Can I share my screen?
You should be able to.
Okay. Does that come up, folks?
No.
Post disabled participant screen share?
You should be a host. Ray, do you have any ideas for Sonali?
I do not. She should be a co-host, so I'm not sure what the.
I might be
Oh,
because
hold
there's
on.
the phone and the.
Oh,
Oh, did it. Great. Awesome.
there, we can see your screen now.
Okay, let me see. Is it? There we go. There we go. Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
Good. So just to give a little preface on what inspired these halftime shares, as they're being called, I applied to the committee as a nature rights representative. And I know that when I joined the committee, the council had asked for clarification on what that meant to me. And there's a rights of nature doctrine that's been adopted in different countries, and it's still like gaining footing. Uganda and Ecuador, there was a lake, the Erie Lake had been declared a rights of nature and had gotten some rights at some point that was later constitutionally revoked. But it's like an ecosystem is entitled to legal personhood, just like a corporation can sue in a court of law for their rights. It's that's what that is. So just wanted to give a little framework on that. So I thought that it would be fun to like break up our meeting and give a little inspiration from the Wood Wide Web while we're in this, like our cellular components of the World Wide Web, and give some insight to what's going on with the birds and the bees and the plants and the trees, and just like have that little moment. But this weather report is gonna like take it completely outside of that ballpark and straight to the galaxies. So bear with me. I will hope to make sense. I realize that a lot of these things, just a lot of life is through the prescriptive lens of science. And there's a lot of systems thinkings out there that are inspired by all sorts of things. And this one comes from the stars. So in astrology, there is the concept that the United States, born in July of 1776, has a birth chart. And in that birth chart, it follows like there's a blueprint, kind of like a person has a DNA. And in that blueprint, at the end of this month, the stars say that we're coming into quite a big transition. And it means, it speaks to the revolution that I think we're all feeling and have felt through COVID. And I share this as a way of giving us inspiration that through other lenses we are in a revolution, and seeing that things are transitioning and falling apart. I mean, the stars are even in our flag. I think for me, it gives me hope in knowing to keep fanning the flames in the direction that we want the change to take shape in, that hold steadfast to our work here on the committee to create the foundation and the systems of what can replace these things that are coming into evolution, revolution, into change. So yeah, just wanted to break it up and say, keep going, we're headed in the right direction, but make sure we're doing the things to take the shape of what's being transformed. Abib, Abib, Abib. That's all, folks.
Thank you, Sonali, for getting us out of our usual mindsets and frameworks. maybe you could stop sharing your screen. Because I can't think while I'm watching the stars spin around. So, so now we are ready. Sorry, any public comment on our Rights of Nature weather report before we move on? All right, so moving on to our social media marketing update from Deborah.
I unmuted myself this time. All right. So it's not so much of an update, but I think somebody spoke to the meeting they had about this community feeling really like we could use a more cohesive community where we're all kind of gathering and helping each other. And Sebastopol has always felt a little disjointed. And we were looking at how do we market ourselves? How do we, can we do social media? And so the education group, we kind of talked last time about what is currently out there. And we have the city social media, but they have limitations on the city social media as what they can, excuse me, and cannot post. And so we don't even want to go there. And then the other option is that, there's so many different downtown or so many different Sebastopol things that I was kind of daunted when I was looking into this. There is a downtown association. I'm not 100% sure, who's running that now, but I'm sure we could reach out to them and they'd be happy to let us, hop on and do some content there. Looking at it though, we were kind of feeling like it might not be the best option. It doesn't have a lot of followers as of yet, so we could get the steam going somewhere else. It doesn't have a lot of followers. The content is very driven on just the merchants on those 2 blocks of Sebastopol, and it's very kind of like, so what we did is we thought, well, hey, could we, as a climate action committee, do we have the bandwidth to take on doing our own social media? And when I think of things, I don't think of them small. I think of them as how this could grow. So instead of having it be like the Sebastopol Climate Action Committee, could we do something, and this name is already taken, but somebody had said something like Sustainable Sebastopol or Welcome to Sebastopol or Get to Know Sebastopol or, something like that. So if we can also uplift other other organizations, other things as well, and really start to build a voice and get some traction. To do social media right now, you really have to kind of walk away from what we're currently doing to build followers and really explore it in a whole different way. The downtown is very still images. They don't use the my story. They're always selling something, but we need to tell a story and give people content of why they want to come and keep coming to visit us. So that's a whole nother conversation. I outlined that. I have a whole detail of it, and we can all kind of come together and have a cohesive plan. So I did reach out to Holly and Carrie, hey, is this even something we can do? We decided to move forward the education committee that we were going to at least give it a shot and see if we can do it. And I got a response from Holly saying she would absolutely love if we would do it. And I haven't heard back from anyone else. So I don't know the legalities. I don't know, would we be free to post? Would we not be free to post? I'm still waiting to hear back from anybody else. So let's go with the concept of we can do this. Then that brings us to the second thing, is the bandwidth. So just to give you a small snippet of, and even I think Kathy, you had said earlier, climate action tips once a week. Currently our reach on our downtown, I don't know what the reach is. Carrie, you might know how many followers we have at the City of Sebastopol Facebook or website. I have all the stats here. I could pull them up, but I don't have it open right now. But, we have like 2,000 on our downtown. I don't know what's on our city. There's, I believe, somewhere around 2,000 on our mailing list. And I can tell you, people probably don't open their bills and read the tips. So we really don't have a voice. We want to be more connected, but we're not working towards connection. So I love that idea of the tips, but if we could build, you know, a social media and start giving people the give me, like why they'd want to come listen to us, what's interesting, and a tip is absolutely a fantastic idea. And there's tons of other stuff that I don't want to take up any more time today of like, how do we get people to act, you know, all of that we can do it another day. So that just brings me, Kathy, do you want to say something really quick or should I go ahead and finish? Okay, you're muted. I'll be really quick. So then the next question is the bandwidth. So I just kind of want to lay out to you guys, you know, what that would take. I'm a big believer in we don't need to work hard to create content. There's so much amazing content. So even if every time you're in a local store, you talk to one of the merchants and say, hey, what do you do to, you know, to help with, you know, what does your business do? How do you contribute? We could have a talk of the town Tuesday where we ask all of our, you know, people in Sebastopol, what are you doing? What's important to you? You know, there's so many different ideas of how to get content without us needing somebody to sit there and kind of build all the content. And posting is something that you can lay out a month at a time or however you want. And you can even do auto posts. And they do have, because I know budget is an issue, they do have auto posting for free that we could use. So, you know, it's not something that would take a ton of resources, but we definitely want to do it. I think that we could maybe go to, you know, the high school, because those kids are always, those young adults are always on social media, college, something where somebody's involved, and we could probably get them involved in this project. So we're just putting it back in your court. If we get the go ahead, is this something that you guys would like to be involved in? If it is, I can go ahead and give you a whole, here's how we see it happening and take it from there. So Kathy, and then any questions, Kathy, or input, thoughts, comments?
It's kind of a related idea in how to reach people in the community. I've recently become sort of randomly the president of Redwood Rainbows, which manages Wishman Hall. And we have a flyer and needs to go out. You know, I've got all these places I could put it. Sebastopol Walks, I had a list of 7 different organizations, and I'd go to each one and I'd post it on a calendar and send it to a group so they could give it to their team. And I've always thought, you know, we've got so many community organizations, the Historical Society, Little League, Wishman Hall, the Senior Center, Community Center, Burbank, there's probably more I haven't mentioned, that have local posts they're like ads for what they're doing or a flyer for what they're doing. If there was kind of like the city's newsletter, if there was something that came out every week with, or, you know, maybe twice a week with a few grouped posts or flyers for what's going on in the community, people could just subscribe to it and get those updates. Otherwise, we're always putting them in every single newspaper and every single calendar. And it's kind of cumbersome. And, you know, it's another way that all of the groups in the community that are reaching out to the community can reach out to each other and help each other with this process.
Yeah.
So just an idea maybe that fits in with what you're talking about.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, you know, one of the things that I see about Sebastopol is it's like an octopus with all these, you know, I've said this a ton of times. You guys are probably like, Deb, we've already heard your spiel. But, you know, I think marrying it together, getting it in one house, like really helps. So if there's a newsletter here and then a newsletter downtown and then a this and then a that, like, so what I think that we could do is if we start this social media and I have the different days of the week laid out, and there's a day of the week for like, if community people want to, like, if you want to, you know, talk about some, you know, we could put it on there. I do think that probably, but this is a Carrie question, that if you submitted that in, I don't know what goes out in the newsletter from the city, if that's something that would work or not, but we certainly could put it Yeah, and I just, my head is going, no, not another newsletter, because we've got that newsletter, and then I'm trying to
I know, that's the problem.
get it all together. But I do think that's a very important, and the thing is nobody's listening to us right now. So we have to build an audience. We have to get them engaged. I mean, I was at the planning, because I'm a planning commissioner. I was at the meeting last night, and they're like, we've gone to the businesses and we've been talking about the parklets. Really? Because nobody's come to me. Like, we're just, and Sarah Gurney said something at one meeting where we invited the businesses, and I was like, I didn't know, so we really,
Right.
the bottom line. Okay. So I agree, but yeah.
Yeah, we'll figure it out.
Yeah. Lisa?
Yeah, I think what we're dealing with here is, for 125 years plus, we had a newspaper that most people in town read, especially back in the old days, and everybody was getting all the news from one newspaper. And now everyone's kind of flopping around trying to figure out how to reach people. I think starting a new thing, I don't know, because there's already so many different things. It seems like the main Facebook Sebastopol site has become, well, next door, or What's Up Sebastopol. That's got 2,600 members, and the city posts stuff on there, and all kinds of groups post on What's Up Sebastopol Facebook group. So anyway, it seems like we are very fragmented, and I think starting a new thing, is that going to help? I'm not sure. I think it's supportive of whatever happens, but it's a hard nut to crack, I think, right now.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. There are so many things. I found that What's Up Sebastopol. Do you know who runs that? Like, who's in charge of it? I tried to reach out to them and DM them. And then and then also, we should not have 2,000 people. We literally,
20.
What? Oh, I mean, like on WhatsApp, like we should have so many more people. We need to get our tourists on there looking what's happening. We need to get, people who aren't here excited, so I'd love to work with WhatsApp Sebastopol. I'm happy, to do that and collaborate with them as well. I did reach out if anybody knows the group, because Lisa, I am so with you. Let's all come together. But since I don't know any other venue, but yes, I'm with you on all of that. Sarah?
Say, I think Deborah and Lisa and Kathy, you are all talking about what each of us has experienced and each of us knows, and the council has been talking about for years. And our relaunch team will be approaching this issue. Debbie brought it up in her presentation as one of the candidates for that position, and it, I think, illustrated it. The octopus idea made it really, really comprehensible for the council. And so the team, Laura Hager and Colleen Martell, will be working on how to pull this together, have one source, get the information out, and all of your ideas will be valuable to them.
Oh, well, if somebody's already doing it, great. I say, let's table this all in. Yeah. Okay. Well, that changes everything. So if somebody's already doing this, I say we just table it. We don't need to take on another thing. So that's fantastic.
Well, too, Debbie, we never know how long something is going to take. So I'm always a little anxious when people table ideas, because they could be put on the shelf for 12 years, So I hope you all will maintain your interest and keep the pressure up on this idea.
Well, I think, yeah. Okay, Sunali.
Well, I think I'm just riding on the coattails of what Sarah just said. If it's a work in if like there's attention to it, but we recognize a need now and we can access it, so we need to communicate with our community. What do we do in the interim? Like, what do we do before there's a plan?
Yeah, I think that's a really good point, but I think we've done this for so many years without having a voice. Let's wait and see what they do, because I don't want to create more two-headed monsters, So I think, it's better to just hold back than if we start something and we get this many thousand followers and they start something and they get there, then we try to get them together. It's like, I think we need to come together. So I didn't realize that was part of what they're doing. So I think that's fantastic. And when that comes together, then we can submit to them and support that.
So appreciate that. Curious what the timeline is, Sarah? It sounds like it's a work in progress.
Well, I can answer that quickly. The group was just retained and they've just started. They've had their first meeting Monday with the ad hoc committee that's helping direct them along with staff. And it is a one-year contract.
So I think that's completely reasonable to wait and, for us to get something going and then, so I think it's better because I'm like, so many different things. Let's all house it one place. So that's great.
All right. Anyone else have questions or comments for Deborah before we move on? Or any members of the public who would like to comment on social media marketing or any of the issues that have come up in this discussion?
Just Sunali, just to answer you, in the meantime, let's talk at the education committee and we can talk about in the meantime how we can get, I hear you.
Great. Thank you guys for taking on this very hard to get your hands around issue in your working
Yes,
group.
and as city staff, thank you. And it's a weird, delicate balance between having information available for public records requests and in a way that is fair to everybody, but also trying to get the word out in an easy way. And it's a balance between bureaucracy and the state laws and all that kind of stuff. So I appreciate your patience with it.
All right, so moving on to working group reports, are there any working groups that have something to bring to the larger committee today? Go ahead, Tina.
Okay, so there's a compost giveaway March 12th and one April 24th, and the PR has started, not press releases, but the promotion has started, and soon we'll have flyers and blurbs to share with you all and the proper avenues. And on a non-business note, Sunali and I are hosting a non-business social for the committee and their guest, and it's March 5th at 4 p.m. and the details will come to you.
So just to be clear, that is a social only, and we will not be discussing anything that's before the committee. It will be for us to get to know the things about each other that we don't learn in this forum, and learn about the other aspects of our lives besides what we do for climate. So I'm really excited that they're putting this together.
And please don't talk shop.
We will not talk shop.
Yes, non-business.
No, nothing climate related. Go ahead, Lisa.
I just had a question for Dina. So I had written down March 19th for some reason for the compost giveaway from our last meeting. So I just want to verify that you didn't say it's the 12th. So I just want to make sure we get our dates. It is the 12th. Okay, thank you.
All right, Sunali.
And if anyone needs, that report is posted to the February 1st City Council meeting webpage if you need to go get it. It's one of the first items because it's on the consent calendar.
I wanted to share that when we tabled on Sunday, what I noticed was a lot of people were drawn to our table because we had the notice of the compost giveaway. So that really brought a lot of attention to us, which was awesome.
Yeah, I think that was my observation as well, that was people's and we didn't even have it displayed that prominently And people were just like, compost? It's great outreach. And maybe, Deborah, that could be the solution, that we just give away compost and we talk to people when they come. Lisa, do you have your hand up to speak, to say something else? Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I didn't, and then now I do. I just wanted to say the compost is such nice quality. It holds moisture really well. It's like the best compost ever.
All right. Go ahead, Zeno.
Hi. Yeah. At the transportation meeting, we did kind of a little discussion about the community meeting and the farmers market. And Woody mentioned that when he was there at the farmers market, he would always ask, where are you from? So where do you live? And he felt that quite a lot of people in the farmers market are from out of town. And it's a happening thing. Yeah, people come there and it's a happening thing. So I think it's still worthwhile to think this through a bit. Where do we find the people in Sebastopol? I mean, I'm not saying they don't go to the farmers market, but there are quite a lot of people, especially the one that look in the vegetable area, that are not from the town. So how do we reach people on the farmers market and elsewhere that are in town, from in town, rather than all these tourists that are attracted by our lovely lifestyle?
Thank you, Zeno. Anybody want to brainstorm on that for a minute, or shall we all put it in the hopper and think more? I think specifically that would speak to your outreach planning, Phoebe, and then obviously everything for the outreach committee, and planning future outreach events when, you know, when we're doing more in person, which hopefully will be before too long. Any other working groups want to bring forward anything for the larger group? I am planning on checking in with funding, specifically before putting together the council report and energy as well. So I don't see anyone else raising their hand or waving their hands around. Any members of the public who would like to comment on the working group reports? All right. Oh, go ahead, Carrie.
And so I'll just give a last plug. If we do have additional time at the end, if anyone does have thoughts about, even if it's just, hey, next year we think we're going to want to do this project, like I said, now would be a good time to let me know so I can try to figure out something for the budget. Oh, sorry about that. I was lowering my hand and I pushed the stop button.
So I think that's for all working groups. You're saying if we have an idea that in the next 12 months, we may want to bring forward any initiative that would require any funding whatsoever, we should loop you in as soon as possible.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, even if it's something like, hey, we're going to want an ordinance to do blank, there's a cost associated with that ordinance. Even if you don't know what it is, if you let me know you're interested in doing that, just like the gas station ban, then I can work on that. And it's Phoebe, I would definitely want to work with you as well.
Great. Go ahead, Phoebe.
Yeah, should we share those right now if we have them? Or at the end?
I think let's get through the rest of our agenda, and then we can share, or you can always email stuff to Carrie. So in terms of chair reports, I think hopefully you all saw that Bird's written answers to this committee were attached to the agenda for today's meeting. So if you had questions for Bird, you can read those answers. I personally found the answers to be not really answers, at least to the questions that I had asked. And I let Woody know to let them know that I didn't find those answers to be sufficient and would be expecting them to provide real answers. at their next presentation, which is going to be our next meeting. So they will be returning at the next meeting. So I just really encourage all of you to look at those answers. And if they are insufficient, if there's something that you want more information on, send that to Woody so that he can send it on to Bird so that they can come better prepared this time to answer questions that we need answered. They have requested to present to council, and we have told them that we didn't think they should present to council until they either had a recommendation or a lack of recommendation from the Climate Action Committee, that we didn't want them to skip over the process of asking for a recommendation from us before they took time for council. So so that's where we're at, and hopefully it'll be a rich discussion next time. But the more pre-work we can do, then hopefully they could come better prepared to this time. And I don't think I will agendize them if they don't come prepared this time. I don't think they would be agendized in the future, because I don't want them to waste our time. So that's my feeling about it. You guys can tell me that you want them on there. We are having, or at least Sonali and Dina are organizing the social gathering. So I encourage you all to come, because I really look forward to learning the things about you that aren't climate related. Joshua, I don't know if you would want to take, since we have a little extra time today, to talk about the CAAC, or because I didn't have you prepared, you know, we didn't know that we were going to table that item, but I want to give you a chance if you would like to.
Thanks. Yeah, I think I would prefer to do it a little less crammed for time when our folks have a little more energy. So if we could just agendize it for next time, 10 to 15 minutes, something like that.
Next time is going to be very full with the tabled reach code and the bird presentation. So yeah, but we'll keep trying to fit that in. Joshua is attending some RCPA a group for us for the city of Sebastopol. Lisa, go ahead.
So I may have missed this, and if so, I apologize, but I'm wondering, is this a social, is this a virtual event or a real live in-person event?
It is a live in-person outdoor event, and details will be coming to the committee members.
Thank you.
Anyone want to give input regarding items for the next agenda now that I've told you how full it is? But or for maybe not for next time, but for upcoming agendas. Sarah, go ahead.
Well, maybe I have endurance for long meetings from all my practice. I just want to mention the merger idea, not to start a conversation about that at this late time. And I'm wondering if Diana and I could help by preparing some material about that ahead of time. Kenna, how do you want to agendize that discussion?
That is on there for next time. So it would be great if we had something to send out with the packet, so that we could maybe even do that in more of a consent type discussion.
So just to key Diana, and I think what we might do is draft our request for an agenda item, draft the material, and then let this group review that and comment on it. It'll guide the discussion, maybe shorten it. Okay.
Perfect. Thank you. Jasenia.
I was wondering, is the Zero Waste Committee also having this discussion? Okay.
Yes, they did.
They did yesterday, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's see, it was
yeah, it was this week. So I haven't
Are you allowed to know what they decided?
Sure. Let's see, do we have time? They were supportive with details that we can put in our advanced material for everybody. And we can talk more fully about it when we have the opportunity next time.
Sounds good.
Okay, Jasenia?
So yes, so anyone else want to bring anything forward for future agendas? All right. Review of action items. Oh, go ahead, Deborah.
I'm just wondering, there was some talk about, is that what you guys were talking about us coming together with the Zero Waste Committee?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then maybe I'll wait. I presented something to the Zero Waste Committee about Sebastopol. Anyway, offsetting our plastic use, but maybe if we could just do that on the agenda when we come together with the Zero Waste Committee.
Yeah, I think next week we're going to talk, next meeting, we will discuss merging, and then presumably that will most likely move forward, at which point we can bring items, zero waste items to this. Review of action items.
Yes. So first, to just repeat the reminder that the Climate Action Committee quarterly report to the City Council will be on March 1st, which is shortly after our next meeting. So again, if anybody has any suggestions for things they think should be included, try to prep that or let us know within the next couple of weeks, please. Compass days again are March 12th and April 24th. There will be more flyers and blurbs forthcoming, so keep an eye out for that. Phoebe will be shifting into kind of the research and compilation phase of the climate action framework soon, and as such is interested in input from working groups, particularly if working groups have longer term aspirations. Those might be good for some form of inclusion in the framework, and also to consider the possibility of engaging in some sort of a workshop, a public workshop along working group themes. And finally, the reminder that on March 5th, there will be a social at Dina's, and keep an eye out for details on that.
Great, thank you so much for doing that so well every time. So now's a good opportunity for anyone that has questions or ideas for budget items to go ahead and bring them forward, since we have an extra 4 minutes. I think Phoebe, you had something?
Oh, sure. Yeah, I have two things that I'm thinking just sort of vaguely at this point, but from what I've heard and seen so far, I think community engagement and outreach is going to be a really important next step, as well as being part of the framework process. But any action that the framework might include, I think is going to require its own community outreach. Like for instance, if the committee wanted to move forward with a REACH code, that requires a lot of talking with the community and making sure that people are supportive of it. So I think that's requires some budgeting support. Just in very general terms, there's going to need to be some more community outreach to move some of these projects forward and support the committee. And then another thing that was sort of part of my work plan at some point was a dashboard where people could look at Sebastopol's climate progress, like all the items that are in the framework. Of course, we're not really sure what the framework is going to look like exactly at this point, but if we were to want to create some kind of dashboard, there's a cost associated with that as well. So those are my two things that I've been thinking about, but they're like super beginning phases right now. So.
And Zeno?
Yeah, sorry, I kind of was slow in the uptake here because I have some suggestion for agenda item. So Steve and I are representing Sebastopol on the Regional Climate Protection Authority and the Advisory Committee, and they have meetings 4 times a year where we kind of discuss new things in the authority. And I think it would be helpful for Sebastopol if Steve and or I have like 5-10 minutes to kind of report on what's going on.
Zeno, I went to the last meeting and I'm kind of going to be representing this group to some degree on that same climate, on that council at RCPA. And Ken and I have been in discussion about trying to get that report back on. So within the next meeting or two. Sounds like.
Sorry, Steve, are you replacing Steve or what?
Just as an update, Steve actually declined to continue, and
Okay.
it's up to me to make an appointment, and that's on the council's next agenda. And Joshua has volunteered.
Okay.
So we'll be finalizing that on the 15th, I believe, assuming the council gets to that agenda item. Otherwise, I'll be acting independently under the authorization from the charter.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Great question. Anyone else have any budgetary items that they are at top of mind to give to Carrie right now? Go ahead, Sarah. Oh, you're
Sorry,
muted.
that was a legacy hand.
Okay. All right, so I think we will end on time, and thank you all for your time today. I know Sunali was piloting this idea of doing a Rights of Nature weather report, so feel free to give her feedback on what you'd like to hear in the future, because I think she would like to continue, or I would like her to continue if she's willing, to keep our Rights of Nature at front of mind. So yeah, please give her feedback on ways that she can bring that forward in ways that are helpful to the group. And if anyone would like to volunteer to bring an inspiration to next meeting, I don't want to make Jasenia do it every time, unless she wants to. So have a wonderful couple of weeks. And remember, Joshua and I need your agenda items. If there is anything or attachments by Wednesday of next week, if there's something that you'd like the committee to get their hands on by the next meeting. Thank you so much. And this meeting is adjourned until February 23rd.